Welcome is Vaughn Thomas. She is the coordinator for PWCS HEALS SEO, which is social emotional learning. She will be doing the presentation tonight. So welcome, Ms. Vaughn.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to thank you for being here on this crisp winter fall evening. I am Vaughn Thomas with Siobhan Thomas. I am the social emotional learning coordinator for college, career, and student support and PWCS HEALS. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. And I'm going to share my screen. So, are you all able to see?
Yes.
Great. You can see the whole PowerPoint?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My screen looks a little different. Okay, so we are actually in as soon as my slide changed, the positive climate and culture under commitment to Prince William County Public Schools will provide a learning environment which fosters inclusivity, connectedness, and encourages social and emotional wellness for all. Our session objectives today are we are going to discover what social awareness and self-awareness looks like and why it's important. We're going to discuss with and learn from one another in creating a safe, supportive, and learning community. And we're also going to reflect on our own lives and ways in which we can enhance it to support all family members. The focus today is about 50 minutes. We have about 10 minutes for question and answers. I just want to remind you all that this is supposed to be a very collaborative, engaging, and fun environment. So if there are questions you have, you can, as Jeanette said, put them in the chat. There is going to be a time where I am going to ask you all to participate. So that may look like, if you're on your phone, it could look like, coming off mute. It may also look like just responding in the chat. So just wanted you all to know that. And let's begin. So an engaging SEO practice that we do is called an inclusive welcome. This allows all of us to be welcome into the meeting space or into the environment. This is something we practice with our school SEO coaches, as well as any meeting that we are conducting. So I'm going to ask you a question. You will have a couple of seconds to think about your answer. And then if you are comfortable, I would invite you to turn on your camera. You're going to think about your answer, and then you are going to silently show your response with your fingers, with 5 fingers. So 5 being the highest, 1 being, sorry, I'm going to go back. 5 being the highest, 4 being, I agree, 3 being, I'm not sure, moderately agree, 2 being disagree, 1 being more disagree, I don't agree at all. Okay. So I just want you to think about these questions. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3 show, and you're going to put up your fingers, which corresponds to you. So the first question is super easy, right? Here we go. I don't see anyone. So I'm going to just trust that you are doing this wherever you are. Okay. So how ready are you to be here today? So again, 5 being yes, super excited, and going down. 5. Great, great, great. All right, next question. How is your day going so far? I'm going to go to about a 4. A lot of 4s. See some 2s, see some 1s. Okay. How are you feeling today? I started off as a 5. I'm about a 3. Good. And what is your level of understanding about this topic? Don't show yet. What I want you to do is I want you to go low. And that is either going to be somewhere at your chest level, somewhere on your leg. Just show it low. And I'm going to tell you why I say that. So what is your level of understanding about self-awareness and social awareness? Great. Okay. So let me tell you why we go high and we go low. So this could be something that you can do at home or we do it, like I said, we do it in schools. I'm going to show you why we do different highs and lows. So when we think about an inclusive welcome, it's used in various settings, right? In the classroom, teachers can check for understanding with what we call a fist to 5. At home, you can check, parents and caregivers can use it to show how your child is feeling, maybe even vote for activities, family activities, or dinner choices. But the high is, I am okay with giving you my answer. I am okay and I am comfortable. Sometimes as teachers, we like to go low because it allows everyone in the classroom a chance to participate without feeling secluded if I don't agree with everyone. It also gives students a chance to respond without feeling the pressure of everyone looking around them. So in the home, it could be, if you have 2 students in the home, it could be, who wants spaghetti and who wants chicken for dinner? Well, I know in my home, my lower child is going to be like, well, what is my big sister saying? But if you tell them to go low, they can show it low. So what you'll see is here, when you put it to work, the 5, I completely understand in a classroom setting. I mostly understand. A 3 could mean I'm stuck and I need help. If you look at the middle picture, it's voting, what we talked about in the home. Your fist could mean no way, mom, dad, uncle, auntie, I don't want to talk about this. We need to talk about this. It could also be used as a mood, when students come home, how was your day today? Show me from fist to 5. 5, you had a great day. It was engaging. 0, fist, it wasn't that great. So this is just something that we use to show a little self-awareness with our students. So I hope that was engaging to you and that you'll be able to use that later on. So today's focus, again, is on families and caregivers, right? So here in PWCS Heals, we want to think about it not so much as family engagement, but engaging with you as families. The insights and perspectives of you all as family and caregivers are critical for informing and supporting and actually sustaining our SEL efforts. Research suggests that evidence-based SEL programs are so more effective when they extend into the home. They're avenues for partnership that creates two-way communication, helping families and caregivers understand their child's development, and also helping teachers understand the family backgrounds and cultures. It provides opportunities for you all to volunteer in schools, extend learning activities and discussion into your homes, and also just coordinate with your community partners. The competencies that we'll be talking about today on our Castle Framework Wheel, again, is the self and social awareness. So what is it? Within the self-awareness competency, we are looking at recognizing and understanding the interactions between one's thoughts and our emotions. And also, we talk about developing a positive identity and being able to recognize our own personal strengths, interests, values, and challenges. And, under here, there is a Virginia profile of graduates. Those 2 descriptors talk about the critical thinking and the creative thinking of our Virginia graduates. So all of this really connects. So an example of self-awareness in action could be identifying our own emotions, demonstrating honesty and integrity, being able to link our feelings with our thoughts and our values, and also having a growth mindset. So we are going to take a quick moment to watch a video about parenting and self-awareness. So while you're watching this video, here's what I really want you to think about. I would like you to think about the emotions you may feel while just watching this, and think about one thing that you didn't know. If you're available and you can, please just take a pencil, your laptop, and just write them down. So what emotions do you feel while watching this? And one thing that you didn't know.
For children, learning is a social and interactive process that takes place with teachers, other students, and parents. Our emotions and relationships affect how and what we learn. Students are far better prepared to succeed in school and in life if they have learned social and emotional competencies in addition to academic skills.
We know that when kids have strong social and emotional learning skills, that they are better able to achieve academically, better able to work with others on a team, to collaborate, to manage conflict, manage stress, to achieve goals. They have better life outcomes. So it's critically important that we take this seriously if we want to educate the whole child.
Social emotional learning is basically the focus on social emotional skills, how to interact with others, how to understand yourself, how to be able to behave in a way that you're supposed to in the right settings.
When we think about self-awareness, we're thinking about, how do I know and understand myself, my emotions, my thoughts, my cultural identity? What are the ways in which I feel about a certain situation? Why might I feel that way? How do I understand myself and how I fit into my family and my community and the broader world? We want to give kids opportunities to really think about their own experiences, their own emotions, and how they are dealing with those things.
Self-awareness is really being in touch with oneself. I think as a parent, the best thing you can do is to be honest about how you're feeling, because kids look at us as we're invincible. We're perfect, and we're not. And so I think having honest conversations about your struggles, whether it's at work or, a goal that you're trying to achieve and the challenges that you're having in achieving those goals, kind of brings your situation down to their level, so they know they're not alone and that it's normal to kind of feel these different things.
One of the things that we work on when we talk about self-awareness is helping students understand emotions. So teaching the vocabulary for emotions, teaching students to think about what different emotions feel like, and being able to name that for themselves is an important part.
As teachers and adults, we need to go to the next level. And that goes all the way to junior high and high school. There's things called emotion wheels where you have all sorts of words that even as adults we can look at and say, oh, yeah, that's a great word for that emotion. So, really being able to help them identify their emotions is huge and give them vocabulary that's challenging them. Secondly, then, what do they do with those emotions? What gets you nervous? Or when do you feel stressed out? Or when do you feel angry? Well, I feel angry when Johnny takes my truck. What do you do about it then? But in high school, the same type of thing applies. If I see my friend Stephanie talking to Lisa or sitting with her at lunch, what do I feel? I feel jealous inside. And then asking myself, is that really a big problem? Is that a small problem? In a classroom, we can model that for kids. So as a teacher, I can say, I'm really feeling disappointed today, fill in the blank. And maybe I'll even take some deep breaths, or gosh, everyone's really loud today. We couldn't go outside for recess. I'm feeling frustrated. I need to take some deep breaths. So modeling that for kids is really important.
Also teaching kids this idea that through hard work, that they're able to be more successful, teaching a growth mindset as opposed to focusing on you're smart, but rather focusing more on effort, helps kids to understand better who they are. Self-awareness is something that is constantly growing, and we want to be able to give kids tools and messaging around how to be thinking about their emotions and their understanding of who they are.
For children,
Well,
learning
no,
is a social
let's not go back to
and
that video.
interactive process that takes place with teachers, other students, and parents. Our emotions are
Okay, so now we're going to build connections from that video. So I ask you to write down one thing you learned and one feeling. I would just ask that if you are comfortable, just coming off mute and either telling us the one thing you learned or one thing that you felt while watching that video. If you're not comfortable, you're more than welcome to place it in the chat. Anyone? Okay. Well, I'll share. For me, it was the being honest with how I'm feeling. I think sometimes as adults, we forget that our students can see it. Even if we say, I'm fine, I'm okay, they know when we're not being honest about how we're feeling. So for me, it was just, am I honest in my home with how I'm feeling? Does my body movement say differently than what I say? So for me, the one thing that I feel like I learned and that I took away from it, even doing this, is just being honest with how I feel. The next thing I want you to think about is think about how you feel when challenging emotions hit, right? So, which emotions challenge you the most? What's one typical situation that could occur that would trigger those challenging emotions? And how do we react? So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to think about things that help you feel better when you're upset or experiencing challenging emotions. While you're thinking about those things, I would like you to, again, if you can, draw what that is, right? So it can be on your phone, it can be with a paper. Just take about 30 seconds to just draw. No one's seeing it, but just draw one thing that makes you feel better when those challenging emotions hit. So I'll give about 30 seconds. Let me find my timer. And begin. And stop. So if we were in a classroom setting or if we were in a training setting, I would ask you to talk about what you drew, right? So here's just another activity that you can do in your home that you and your student can do together that just talks about when you're feeling challenging emotions, what is the thing that makes you feel better? You all can write it down together, draw it out together, and then hang it somewhere that you can see it, whether it's the refrigerator, in the room, that they have a visual reminder. Because remember, some of our learners are audio, some of us are visual, some of us are hands-on, but this incorporates all of them. They're hearing you say it, they're drawing it, they're writing it, and then they're also doing something with it. So this just gives them ways to think and learn differently, different practices that you all are being able to do as a unit together. So those are ways that you can build that self-awareness connection in the home. So self-awareness looks a little differently at each age. For example, in first grade, a student may define their identity by how their parent or teacher describes them and how well they can follow rules. Fourth graders, they could identify with feeling anxious or frustrated, or maybe even bored and seek help for understanding. And a sixth grader may possibly just have a newfound interest in learning and about their heritage and cultural pride. So, what does it look like according to the Virginia Department of Education? So, we have what is called Virginia Social Emotional Learning Standards. And I'm not going to go over all of them. I'm just going to name a few. So in each grade band, there are standards that Virginia Department of Education has said that students should be able to do social and emotionally. K through 5, they should be able to name basic emotions. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm sleepy. They should be able to identify something that's important, whether it be a family member, whether it be an animal or a toy. They should be able to recognize when that things are hard and that it is okay to make a mistake. In secondary, they should be able to differentiate those same emotions with a variety of emotions. So they should be able to say, I'm angry and frustrated. And what is the difference between being angry and frustrated? They should be able to begin analyzing their strengths and actions and being able to overcome those with their from personal challenges. They should be able to list things that they can do well, visibly, strengths and weakness. I'm good at public speaking, I'm good at football. They should be able to list those things. And at the secondary level, they should be planning their post-secondary goals based on strengths, challenges, interests, and values. But what does it look like in the home? So parents and caregivers can help their student identify their feelings by naming them, by pointing out ways and feelings that are showing themselves in their body. My heart is beating, maybe I feel hot, maybe I'm sweating. So what can parents and caregivers do to help? Well, supporting them and exploring different passions and interests. We can be aware of what we focus on that's related to our students and how often do we recognize their strengths, excuse me, and character traits. We can share our family customs, including, different languages that our families have, cultures, and stories that are within your unit. We can, talk about our students' development at each age and the stage that they're going through. And helping them to discover ways that they can contribute to your family unit, and even in their community. And having them doing daily reflection of their days, discussing their strengths and challenges. This, what you see on your screen, Yannette, they do receive the resources, right? Okay, so this is just some self-awareness activities that can be completed in your home that we have created. Practicing mindfulness, trying new activities, show and tell, right? We think that's in our classrooms, but really we can show and tell in our home. Practicing gratitude, thank you so much for helping me wash the dishes. You did such a great job. Things like that. So that's what self-awareness can look like in our home. So moving on to social awareness. Social awareness is the ability to empathize and feel compassion for others and understand social norms. Within the social awareness competency, the overarching concepts, again, from our Virginia profile of a graduate, they should be able to demonstrate the ability to empathize with, show gratitude for others, including different and diverse perspectives, abilities, backgrounds, and cultures. That piece is the collaboration piece. They should also be able to demonstrate the ability to understand broader historical and social context that impact humanity, and that is a citizenship part of our Virginia graduates. So what do these look like? So they could be taking other perspectives into consideration, recognizing strengths, not just in themselves, but in others. It could be demonstrating empathy and compassion, showing concern for the feelings of others, and showing and understanding gratitude. So we are going to take a moment to watch a video about parenting and social awareness. So again, as we did before, when you're watching this video, I want you to think about two things: the emotion you feel while watching this video, and one thing that you're able to learn or take away from this video.
Students are better able to navigate the world if they can understand the perspectives of others. They will build better relationships at school, at home, and on their future jobs if they can empathize with others, including those from backgrounds and cultures that are different from their own.
When we talk about social awareness, we're talking about our ability to understand others and how they feel. So in social awareness, we're talking about the ability to take the perspective of others, to think through how other people might feel in a certain situation, to appreciate diversity, to recognize emotions, to read body language, really to understand how other people may fit into the bigger picture.
Social awareness is being empathetic towards someone else or the people around you.
When we think about empathy, we're really thinking about our ability to put ourselves in the shoes of another person and take their perspective. And it takes intentional work. We also know appreciating diversity and showing respect for others is a critical part of social awareness.
I think it's a good opportunity to have a conversation with your children that there are people that are different from us and that our response to them should be the same because we are all humans, we all have differences, and it's important to embrace the differences that we all have. And I think modeling as a parent, opening a door for someone that may be disabled or helping someone that's elderly with their bags and putting their bags into their trunk, just different things that we as parents, we can model to children so that they feel comfortable knowing that it's okay to do.
How would I feel is an important lesson to be talking with our young people about all the time. And not just our young people, our older students and adults. We all need to be thinking about how might that feel if I were in that situation.
So if we're actually teaching that in school, what does that mean? You can start with your friend. What is Sarah thinking right now? You can do that in a myriad of ways. Teachers are so creative. We do it with books, with characters. Let's talk about this character. What is she feeling? What might she do? How would you feel in that situation? You can actually then have role plays as older kids, talk about something you went through, talk about how you were feeling. How do you think he was feeling? How do you think she was feeling? Have that be a continuous part of conversations. And this doesn't have to be a separate social emotional lesson. It can be history, English, even math, you name it. There's always a way to talk about how others are feeling and thinking and how you could work more together.
For young children, we would be very explicit about looking at facial expressions and trying to discern the difference between someone who's feeling sad and someone who's feeling angry. Because you can imagine if you're misinterpreting those signals, that you may be interacting inappropriately, which can cause additional conflict, where somebody may be sad and need a hug as opposed to someone who is angry and needs space. You want to be able to tell the difference between those, and really trying to understand, what if I were in that situation? When we think about people from different races, different cultures, we really have to not just think about my own feelings, but how might this feel given the differences that they have? It's all part of really trying to understand each other as humans. And you need only look at the news to see how difficult this can be and how important it is if we want to have a healthy, functioning society.
Let's go back to building connections. Okay, so building our connections again. I'm going to give you the opportunity to come off mute or type in the chat either one emotion you felt while watching this video or one takeaway or one thing that you learned, one thing that you can take away from this video. I went last time.
Can I hop on real quick, Vaughn?
Yes.
So I think it was towards the very end where it just talked about, for little guys using facial recognitions and talking about that to help with misinterpretations. And it kind of made me chuckle a little bit because I feel like as an adult, I was about to say how old I was, but I'm not. But as an older adult, I still feel the need to have to really practice that and think about it with myself to make sure that I'm not having some misinterpretations on how another individual is feeling. So
Mhm.
really trying to ask clarifying questions or learn about maybe that individual's culture so that I can understand, maybe why they aren't looking me in my eye or something of that nature. So it kind of made me chuckle because I was like, yeah, that's great for the little guys, but man, I still need some support with that as an older one.
Yeah. I think that's good. Thank you so much for sharing. I definitely know I need support with that, with with just under, because sometimes when we see people, sometimes people are very visual with their face, right? I know I am. And sometimes when you do it, you're like, I can look at them and I know them and I'm like, oh, that's just, she's confused there. But if I don't, for me, that could be, are they confused? Are they angry? Did I say something wrong? Like, what does that mean? So I thank you for sharing. And I do see some in the chat. I have encouraged. I learned that you should keep how would I feel, how would you feel as a continuous part of the conversation. I love that. I think sometimes when we're talking, we do forget about that, well, how did it make you feel? Sometimes we do focus on how it makes us feel. So thank you so much for sharing that. And so we'll get into social awareness or not. Well, it took us all the way back.
She has
Here
to do
we
her
go.
lesson. Yeah. Can you go down and tell Ruffy that the picture?
Okay, let's get this right. Okay, here we go. So for social awareness, this skill is also going to look differently at every age and stage, right? So preschoolers may be aware of how to cooperate with their peers, sharing and things like that. Pretend play is more interesting, of course, at preschool, kindergarten level. For third graders, it could be just newfound self-consciousness as they grow empathy and they sense judgment of peers, as a previous elementary school teacher, my students could tell when, she's not my friend today. And I would be like, well, how do you know? I just know. You're learning, they're learning that. So, think about that when they say things like that. So what does it look like as far as the Virginia Department of Education is concerned? For Virginia Social Emotional Learning Standards, for the K through 5 band, and again, this isn't all, this is just, some of them, learning to recognize other feelings and learning how to respond in kind ways, discussing similarities and differences within our abilities and also our cultures. Identifying, expressing gratitude. Again, we also saw that in the self-awareness part, and understanding how, stereotypes may be harmful. In our secondary band, some of them could look like being able to relate and build connections with others, developing an understanding and appreciation of others' different abilities, their backgrounds, and their social groups, and it being able to express gratitude in multiple settings, and just being able to accept different viewpoints from my, that are different than mine. I may like the Washington Commanders and you may like the Dallas Cowboys. That's okay, right? So they're starting to learn that in that secondary band. But what does it look like at home? What can it look like? So as parents and caregivers, we just begin to model that empathy by taking their perspective and helping them name their emotions. Being able to create those opportunities for our student to have exposure to different viewpoints and express those differences through a, reflective lens. It could be, sharing a news article. It could be, a movie they're watching. So just sharing those different viewpoints, creating opportunities for them to be involved in your communities. That could be through service or just even attending some of your community-wide events. It could also be practice using acceptance when even discussing families, friends, neighbors, or even at the grocery store. I'll just give a quick example. I have a little one, and there are some times where I have to say there are certain things that we don't say outside because it could hurt others' feelings. He doesn't realize that because he's small. So just, practicing that with them, things that we should say, those are ways that we can enhance their social awareness. And everyday routines offer opportunities. They give our students a sense of predictability and safety. They also engage them in taking responsibility and making connections. But they also can serve as our greatest challenges in our most chaotic times of the day. So thinking about and just being intentional with families, right? How can I have my student practice their self-awareness in the morning? What does that look like? What does it look like after school? So using that, ask your kids how they feel, if you're reading a story or watching a movie together, discussing their interactions with their friends at homework time, learning about their own cultures, when we're at dinner time or even when we're cleaning up, even discussing current events, asking open-ended questions. So rather than asking, well, how was your day? More thought-provoking, well, what was something interesting that happened to you today? The social awareness piece. Did you meet anyone new today at school? The self-awareness piece. What was something that was challenging you today? So those are just little things that we can do as parents and caregivers that are everyday things that sometimes we don't even think like, oh, I'm actually practicing SEL with my child, with my niece, with my family member, with my neighbor, and not even realizing, because these are honestly things that we do every single day. So right now, I am going to invite you to a Mentimeter Q&A. It's really quick. If you have your phone, you can scan the QR code. Actually, I'm going to stop sharing so I can get to the Mentimeter. And you should see, are you able to get in? Yes, I see a crab. I see a little mouse. And let me share. Well, I love that. All right, I have 4 players ready. And then let me see, I will copy the link and I will put it in the, I'll copy the link and put it in the chat for those of you who are on your computer and can't scan. Everyone in the meeting. Okay, you should be able to copy that link and it should automatically join you in to the Menti code. All right. And I am going to share. Can everyone see the Menti code on the screen? All right. So I'm going to begin. I have about 8 players. And here we go. Self-awareness is the ability to recognize your own emotions and thoughts. You should see it on your device. True, false. I forgot to take the option 3 off. And time. Good job, everyone. The answer is true. All right, question 2. I can help my children practice self-awareness by talking about my own feelings and emotions. Well, that was quick. And the answer is true. Good job. All right, question 3. Social awareness is the ability to recognize your own emotions and thoughts. And the answer is true. All right, and here is our last one. Social awareness looks like, now this isn't true or false, taking others into consideration, appreciating diversity and showing respect, both A and B, or neither A and B. It is absolutely both A and B. Thank you all so much. You did such a great job. And I am going to finish out as soon as I can find, what I love about Zoom is when you have 10 screens and none of them work correctly. All right, so I'm going to just close us out. Share my screen. Okay, can you all see? Great.
Yes.
So I want you to think about what you learned and heard today, and what is one thing that you are going to take away. It could be a strategy, a tool, an action step. Again, if you're comfortable, you can come off mute, and if not, you can write it in the chat, or you can just keep it on the paper that you have been writing on all day. And so I'm going to give you about just 10 seconds. Okay. I see modeling my emotions for my children. I love that. That's a big one. Anyone else want to share? Seeing through their eyes. Ooh. Yeah. That takes a lot of work. That's good. Seeing it through their eyes. That takes a lot of work. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. I just want to encourage you to keep learning. So every video that you saw will be shared with you from Yanette in her office. We also have some various resources that are linked to our social emotional learning webpage that are also here that you can find there. And thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. And thank you to Ms. Siobhan Thomas and Ms. Heather Wines for joining us tonight on this great presentation that I think, like they said, sometimes we forget, right, to really show our emotions and model, not just for our children, but for others. And so this is just a reminder to take some time for yourself, to be aware of what's going on and things like that. As Ms. Thomas said, I will be doing a follow-up email tomorrow. I will send both the recording for today's session as well as the PowerPoint, so you have both of them as a resource. I am also going to ask you to please, we're going to put the link for a survey in the chat. Please take the time to fill that out, just to let us know how we're doing, how they're doing. And then also this helps us to kind of bring similar programming to you for, upcoming sessions. And so again, thank you to College Career and Student Support Department for joining us tonight. Everyone, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy your holiday season and you guys have a wonderful evening.